So glad that you're joining us for our post show. My name is Josh. I'm the host, and I'm here with 3 other amazing people. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
I'll start us off. Hey, good morning, Connections. It's Lexy. You guys see me around here. I do pre-show, and now I get to help with post-show, so that's pretty cool.
We're excited that you're here.
Yeah.
My name is Dave. You've probably seen too much of me already, but sorry, here I am.
Yeah.
And my name is Layla. I'm also typically on the pre-show and now extremely blessed to be able to hang out here for the post-show.
Yeah, we're super excited that all of you guys are tuning in to watch this. Basically, if you didn't hear what we're doing, we are going to break down the message. We're going to talk about some more application-based things. If you guys have questions, we're going to be able to answer some of those questions here, and we're going to be able to pick the mind of Dave Sanders. Much knowledge
that's a frightening
that is
thing.
in
It's
the
not
brain of Dave. So let's break down the whole service. So we started with a fantastic worship set.
Yeah, for sure.
Great worship set. And then, Dave, you kicked off our Deconstruction Part 2 series. Now, obviously, this is Part 2, and we have a lot of new people here at the church. So if you can give us a brief synopsis of what happened in Deconstruction Part 1 and give a definition of what deconstruction is, we would greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. First, worship was awesome. And the song, oh God, I need you, how I need you now, it's like always hits me big time. One of the things about growing as a Christian is the realization on how deeply you need God. And that deepens over time, So, I really appreciate that greatly. Yeah, deconstruction is a name that's given to the process of questioning your faith and then examining it. Unfortunately, all too often, it's not examined very deeply, but there's an examination and then largely walking away from the faith. And while questions are good, we ought to examine our faith. It's just unusual that so many people in our day are walking away from it rather than deepening their faith.
Yeah, and would you say this is like a new phenomenon that's happening within the Christian faith? Would you say it's relatively new?
I would say it's new only in scope. The process has always happened. All right? It happened in Jesus' day, been happening, no problem. But the degree to which is happening seems to be unprecedented from what I can tell in church history.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. One of the things that you talked about in your message, and our first question is going to hit on this. Maybe it's going to hit on it. We'll see what's happening. I don't know. Anyways, you talked about the truth and how the truth can be offensive, how when Jesus was sharing the truth that it offended people. We see that he got killed ultimately because of that. So if we know that the truth could potentially offend somebody, how should we approach sharing this truth to people?
Oh, that's such a great question. And so often it's the way truth is presented that causes the offense. And that's what we've got to avoid.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating that Jesus, he saved his harsh words only for the most religious people, right? The Pharisees, right? They're the ones that knew it all, had it all together, came up with all these rules everybody needed to obey. Jesus was like, ouch, when he would talk to them sometimes. Okay, but when Jesus talked to people, it was always gracious and kind. There was an inherent respect for the dignity and beauty of every human being, which is an image bearer of God. And Jesus never violated that respect for a human being. Even when he was sharing truth, man, that might have been a little harsh to take.
Yeah. For sure. Now, Lexy, Layla, you guys obviously aren't in the day-to-day grind here at the church like Dave and I are.
Right.
How could we potentially do this out in our communities?
Good question.
Sharing that from a non-pastor position.
Would you like me to go first, Lexy?
Go ahead.
I think what comes to mind for me is, speaking my truth and along with my experiences, just because I think that it's going to be helpful to relate to others. So that's usually my first instinct is just to be as humble and vulnerable as possible. and just really trying to gauge my audience. You know, I think it's easy for all of us to feel comfortable really opening up and being transparent with those that we know really well.
Yeah.
But I really try to lean into my uncomfortableness personally when I'm doing that with people I don't know very well. And
really
typically
good.
I'm like, God, please help me, right? Because I want to make sure I'm saying the right words. And God's got my back. I know that He will ensure that I say the right things.
Yeah.
And even if I mess up, that still shows that I'm a human, right?
Yep.
And I might not be the most well-educated as far as, you know, the various things from a Bible perspective or a biblical perspective. But I think the pureness of my heart, I hope always shows when I'm, you know, trying to speak His truth.
For sure.
It does.
Thanks.
Yes.
Yeah, it totally does. I want to go back to what you were saying, Dave, because oftentimes as Christians, we know God's truth, right? It is so ingrained in our head, and most times it's no-brainers, like the way that we live, the way that we act. And so when we see people not living God's truth and not doing the things that we do, instantly it's like, what are you doing? Like, it is so easy for us
Yeah.
as humans to
that's
judge
true.
first.
Yeah.
It's true.
And here's the thing, like, I have so many friends that are non-Christians. I'm not going to hold them to the same standard that I hold my Christian friends. You know, so there's going to be things that they do that I don't agree with. But I'm also giving them a lot more grace because they don't live the truth that I live, you know? And I'm going to love them through the things that they're doing and the life that they're living. You shared in a past message, I don't remember what series this was in. What was it?
You don't remember every message
Acceptance.
automatically?
Acceptance does not equal approve or yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Something
that's
like
correct.
that.
No,
Approval?
exactly right. Yep.
Yeah,
star.
so we can accept people without like
Yeah.
saying everything you're doing I agree with, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, just giving people a lot of grace and knowing, like, I mean, even I'm a Christian and I've had other fellow Christians like shove things down my throat, and it's like
Yeah.
it feels so uncalled for. Like we are supposed to love, not judge. There's only one.
sure.
There's only one person that's judging us.
Yeah.
He's up there.
Yeah.
It is. We are all sinners at the end of the day, and like, if we're judging people, we're being freaking hypocritical. Like,
No, we
we're
truly,
doing
we
the same
truly
thing.
are.
And
Yep.
with that being said, though, like, there's we have to love people and not judge them, but at the same time, like I said, when we're talking about the Christian community and the people in our church, the people that know God, we do have a responsibility to
Absolutely.
hold them accountable for their actions and
Yep.
for their
100%.
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That actually, that's so good. Just so good. It's like we're not gonna argue someone into a different position.
No.
Our
It's
job
never
is,
gonna work.
matter of fact, our job isn't even to get people to believe something different. That's the job of the Holy Spirit
Absolutely.
who works,
Yes.
right? Our
Yes.
job is to share lovingly what we believe to be true. And I think what's also important in this whole thing, and this is true of every subject that we're going to end up talking about. I talk to people that aren't Christians. I am in close relationship to people who've deconstructed their faith. When we're together, I don't bring this stuff up. I do life with them. I enjoy their company. I praise the good things they do. I support them in life. And over the course of time, issues do in the natural flow of conversation come up. When that happens, I just go, well, here's what I've found to be true, or here's what I've experienced in my life. And I make it more of a personal testimony than a, here's what you need to believe.
Yes. Yes.
And when you can do that, it leads to conversation. Conversation can go somewhere good. Preaching and pressure never does,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
says the preacher.
And I want to piggyback off of this. So what we just shared a way that we should share the truth, and that is with how Jesus did it when he went into this group that was his disciples who were sinners. They weren't the Pharisees or the religious elite, and he did life with them, but ultimately taught them. So we can take that as a way that we should share the truth.
Yep.
What are some other ways, and I want all of you guys to pitch in, what are some ways that we should share the truth to people that don't necessarily believe what we believe?
Yeah, I think that there are a lot of examples of these, but there's two things that come to mind for each one. Shouldn't. I think we should never share the truth in a moment of anger. Like, for example, if I were to, be witnessing something that I didn't agree with, belief is extremely high for me. Chances are what I'm about to share isn't going to come out very politely or
so
judgmental.
No Facebook arguments.
Yeah, right.
Layla,
Yes,
that is-
no
Arguments.
Facebook
That is
arguments.
a great point
Yeah.
because when you're sharing God's truth in anger,
Yep.
people
And
that
it's-
don't know God are going to be like, "Oh,
Exactly.
God
And-
hates me. God's angry all the time."
I think that happens a
they're-
lot.
Yeah, they're not going to know like God's love for them and that you
Mm.
are strictly saying that just because you want what's best for them. You want them to know
Right.
what you know.
Exactly.
They don't know that.
They don't
Yeah.
know that.
They know that you're angry.
Yeah.
And they probably think, "Oh, God's
Yeah.
angry at me too. I don't want a God that's
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
gonna be mad at me all the time."
I think for another example, as far as
You are.
a way to that we should share the truth, I think it's one. Again, I think there's many things that come to mind, but like living by example. So maybe not sharing truth with my words, but in my actions and how I
Yeah.
carry myself, and just living my best life. And I think a lot of I've had a lot of opportunities where people have asked me, why are you dealing with the situation so well, or how did you overcome that adversity? And that's where then I can, have that opportunity to say, well, because, of my Savior, and, take it from there. So sometimes I think the actions can speak louder than words.
That's
So sometimes
exactly-
living in those first and then
Layla, that's
letting
exactly what I was going to say.
the talk come secondly.
Spot on.
Yeah.
Yeah, when people see like the joy and the love you have for others and the way
Yeah.
that when you're facing adversity in life, you're handling it well, people pick up on that.
Yep. Absolutely.
Like, I'll give-
everyone's always watching.
Yeah, I give
Yeah.
this example in my small group pretty often, but I've been working at Water Street Coffee Joint as a barista for 2 years now, and I love that job.
I love that coffee.
Yeah, it's good coffee. With that being said, I want to hit on spiritual gifts for a second. My top 2 spiritual gift is evangelism. I did not think that was me for the longest time because I was like, I don't shove Jesus down people's throat. That's not me. And it hit me, like I knew that was one of my spiritual gifts. I was working a shift at Water Street and I'm doing dishes in our giant dish sink in the back, right? Just doing my
Yeah.
dishes. And this girl that I work with, she comes up to me and she's like, "Hey, Lexy, I just want you to know that like you have brought me back into my faith and a relationship with God."
Oh, wow.
I was like, I stopped doing dishes. I was like, "Hold up, what?" I'm like, "Jaden, that's really cool. Can you tell me more about that?" She's like, "Yeah. So just like the way that you like face challenges and the way that you just love people and you care for them and you talk to the customers. Even I get treated like crap at that job, you guys. Every single shift that I work, people are so nasty and they're so mean and they're selfish and they're in their own heads and they
need the
slow down to
coffee.
take a second and like realize that I am human and I can only work at human pace. I am not God. I can't
absolutely.
be going all up, right? But she's like, I just noticed how you do that.
Yeah.
And she's like, and you talk about God so openly and the way that you share, like you never try and shove it down people's throats. You just talk about how he's working in your life. And like, you just praise him all the time.
Yeah.
She's like, and you talk about it and I want that. She's like, I hadn't gone to church since graduating high school,
That's awesome.
but I've been going every week with my parents
That's so
because what
neat.
I see in you, I want that.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. That's
I
so
believe
That's
Yeah,
it right there.
100%.
That's what we're supposed to be
Yep.
doing.
Yep.
We are
Just being
supposed,
you.
yes, we're supposed to show through our actions. Let our actions speak louder than words when it comes to non-Christians.
Yep.
Yep.
It goes a long way.
Yeah,
Sure.
Good stuff.
pretty cool. Yeah.
We have a lot of ways that we should. Is there anything else that comes to your mind about a way that we shouldn't necessarily approach sharing the truth? And if not, that's okay.
Yeah, in addition to what we've talked about, I would say it's important to be situationally aware.
Yeah.
And in situational awareness, you're judging, you're discerning not only what is my relationship with this person, but where's this person at right now? Because I don't, like every other person like me, there are some times I'm more open to stuff than other times. And when people try to tell me stuff when I'm not open, I just resist, even if I know I shouldn't.
Yeah.
And so just kind of reading. Sometimes in a conversation, I'll think somebody might be open. So I'll like ask a question.
Yeah.
And then if they take that question and they open a door, let's go down there.
Yeah.
If they don't, then let's not.
Yeah.
I don't feel a pressure in that moment to have to say something. I count on the Spirit of God, who's really good at what he does,
Yeah.
to prepare and convince and direct and all that kind of stuff. And my job is to sense, is this a moment to share something? If it is, I do. If it's not, okay, I'll wait and I'll just affirm love for the person.
Yeah, for For sure. Well, thank you guys for answering that question. Now, Dave, you shared 4 guiding principles. Here they are right here. 1, the Bible accurately interpreted tells us the truth. Dave in his message mentioned that we did a series, How Can You Trust the Bible? That's what it's called, right? Back in March. I highly encourage you to go listen to this series. It breaks down archaeological, scientific, prophetic. There was one more thing. And Jesus trusted it. 2 more things. What was the last one? I can't
Internal
remember.
consistency.
Internal consistency.
And
There it is right
explanatory power.
there we go. Dave
Lexy knew the answer to that question
Yeah,
too. But
Lexy, see, I forgot. I'm sorry, guys. Dave did a fantastic job breaking down on why we can trust the Bible. That was back in March. You can go to our YouTube page and you can look for those sermons. I highly encourage you to listen to those. The second point, everyone falls short of the truth. We all know this, Romans 3:23. We've all fallen short. We've all sinners. But I want to focus on point 3. The truth may hurt, but it never damages people. Can you elaborate on that? Because I feel like this is something that could be, when you first read it, like, what do you mean it never damages people?
Yeah.
So can you explain this?
Yeah. The truth can damage you like a surgeon can damage you.
I like that.
I've had two surgeries. Well, that I can remember. I mean, when I was a little kid, I had my tonsils out. Don't remember. But I had hip reconstruction, and I ripped up my shoulder, right, and had my rotator cuff done. The actual work the surgeon did brought pain. Cut into my body, right? Put anchors and screws and shaved bone and all this kind of stuff. That's like, that hurts the body. I had to recover from that. However, what he was doing was healing me. What my surgeons were doing is putting my shoulder, my hip into usable condition so that I could physically be capable of doing things. So when I say it may hurt, but it doesn't damage, I mean it just like a doctor, just like a surgeon. It can hurt, the process can hurt, you have to recover from it, but it always brings healing. It makes me a better person in the long run. So it's healing, not actually damaging.
I love that.
Yeah, that's a great way to break it down.
Absolutely.
And also the illustration that you used in the message of the ice cube on your ankle. First of all,
Yeah, I did that
made
in
me,
service 1 and
that
not
made me
service
clench
2.
my whole body, and I was just like,
Yeah.
that sounds so painful.
It's a great story.
Did you not
If
share it in service too?
No, I did. I ran
Okay,
out
so
of
I
time.
was
share it.
I was
Yeah.
in service too. I didn't hear the
Yeah,
first service.
we need to hear the
All right,
example.
Dave, can you
again.
tell the story in
Yeah,
like
tell the
20
Ice
seconds?
cube example.
Oh, no.
No? Okay. I'm just kidding.
Can I do anything in 20 seconds?
No, not usually. Not usually.
It was about a badly sprained ankle. I was told I would miss my entire senior season of football. My coach had taken a class at the Northern Illinois University, and it's called an ice treatment. And he took trays of ice, turned my ankle on its side, and with all his might, he rubbed that into my ankle. It was excruciating pain. I was wringing my tennis shoe. I'd have towel in my mouth to keep from screaming. And then when one ice cube would melt, I would walk to the gym and back. He'd turn my ankle over, do the same thing on the other side. 3 trays of ice cubes. It hurt like crazy. But 2 weeks later, I was playing a football game.
Yeah.
He wasn't damaging me, even though he hurt me. He was healing me so I could get back in the game. That's what Jesus does. That's what the truth does.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And the last question I want all of you guys to answer. Man, I'm really struggling with this iPad. I don't know why.
Because you're live.
Well, the question says, if it'll ever pop on the screen, how can we prepare our heart and our mind during this entire series? What are some steps that we can take?
Pray.
Yeah, I was gonna say, definitely through prayer and just asking God to open our heart and our mind. And I think, again, through humility, just being mindful about when you have moments where you start to put your guards up. It's going to happen, right? We're all humans. I know there's going to be touchy subjects where we might not necessarily be able to wrap our heads around it at first, but just continuing to ask God to, like I said earlier, open up our hearts, open up our minds, help us see different perspectives, and, just being, like you mentioned earlier, Lexy, practicing grace for yourself and for others. And I think really leaning into, your friends and your family and our church community to be able to help build up your confidence through things, and continuing to get other people's perspectives too, not only your own. But I'm really looking forward to the series in general. And I think, Dave, you always do such a good job of helping us see different perspectives through your examples and wonderful stories. And you always have such great, verses to really help us lean into these things too.
Yeah, Dave, you're kind of the best. Let's just
Yeah.
shower you with all these compliments.
Just want to point out, Dave
Looks like I'm going to be
Dave
working on
has
a
not
series on pride next.
delivered a sermon since the middle of June, and it's the longest break you've ever taken as a pastor, right?
By 3 or 4 weeks at least.
So yeah, we're glad that you're back up there. We
It
Absolutely.
feels
I
good
mean,
to be
me
back.
and Perry, we can float the boat for a little
You
bit,
guys were
No,
but
awesome.
we're no
Are you
Dave
kidding?
Sanders.
Thank God.
No, Dave, when you teach, I'm like, my mind is like spinning like crazy, and I'm like taking notes like crazy. I just feel like I always learn so much from you.
Thank
you have
you.
much
Thank
knowledge.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
for sure.
It's it's maintaining a learner's mindset.
Yeah.
It is having the humility to recognize, and I do, that there's way more stuff I don't know than I know. And there are things that I think I know that aren't maybe quite right or need to be altered. And I always want to go to the Bible and go, okay, God, correct my thinking. Redirect, give me whatever enlightenment you need to, because what matters is not that I'm right. What matters is that I'm getting it right because you're teaching me. And I think that attitude is just crucial.
Yeah, for sure.
To answer this question, if you have a closed mind and a closed heart, this is going to do nothing for you.
Yeah.
The series will
very
do
true.
Yeah.
nothing for you.
Yep.
So
A lot of things will do
so
well for you.
yeah, absolutely. So
that's
praying for God to just open your mind and open your heart and be ready to receive the sermon each week. I know there's going to be topics that are going to be hard for me to hear, for all of us, really. Every single person is going to,
Yep.
something is going to stick with you and be harder to hear than other things. Yeah, just continue praying about that, and continue just praying that God allows you to take it, to listen, and to question, really, because that's why we're here. That's why we're doing this. Questioning is such a good thing, and oftentimes
so
I
good,
think we're like,
sure.
oh, we can't question or challenge, God and
Yeah.
and sermons and people that are talking. We want you to question.
Yep, that's
Yep.
right.
Yeah.
That's because that's how you grow, and
Yep.
that's how you evolve, and you become a better human. You become a better Christian. You understand God's word better.
Yeah.
You have to ask hard questions.
That's right.
Yeah, and to piggyback off that, we touched on it last week. We as a church are not afraid of questions.
No.
We actually want you guys to ask questions so much that if you go to our website, my3c.org, we have a tab where you can ask any question that you want. And probably starting this week,
Yeah,
me
right
and
now.
you are going to be sitting down
Yep.
for 30 minutes to an hour, and we're going to answer every single question that's going to get shared out.
Or try to answer,
Or try
as the
to
case
answer.
may be.
That's true.
Can't guarantee I'll have
well,
one.
we're going to try to answer every single question that you guys have, because we're not afraid of your questions. I mean, we see in the Bible, John the Baptist is sitting in a prison and he starts doubting and questioning if Jesus is really who he says
that-
he is. And his whole job was to prepare the way for Jesus. So we are never afraid of your questions.
And I just want to piggyback off of that. Like, asking questions does not take away from your love and faith in God.
No,
Yeah.
it's nothing to be
That
embarrassed
d-
about.
no, that does not take away from that at all. It is so normal. Every single one of us in this
right.
circle have asked questions
Yeah.
and have struggled with our
100%.
faith multiple times in life.
Yep,
Absolutely.
that's right.
And it's nothing to feel shame over, and it's nothing to try and hide and feel like you have to work through by yourself.
Yeah.
You are going to gain so much more when you talk about it.
Yeah.
And when you ask questions.
So I have a
right.
question about the questions.
Question about the question.
Dun, dun, dun. So I know you're going to be answering the questions, and maybe you're going to get to this, and I'm stealing your thunder right now. But as you and Dave are picking apart the questions, how will you be sharing those answers in the upcoming weeks?
Yeah,
good
for sure.
question.
So we are going to be recording just like this, and it will get posted, I know, on YouTube, might get shared on Facebook,
Okay.
and potentially Instagram. I don't know. That's kind of Steve's. He's going to do all the social media getting out there. I can guarantee you that Dave's going to be putting it in our church-wide email, a link
that.
to it. And right now, we're planning on doing it every single week during this
Awesome.
series.
Yep.
So whenever we get into more of the in-depth topics, we're going to be going, hey, we're going to focus this entire Q&A time on this one topic from this one
so neat.
message to be able to dive really deep into that.
Exactly.
I like that.
So one thing, everybody, I want you to encourage, if you came to our church physically this morning, we have these physical books that we were giving out for free. I highly, highly encourage you to use this. Dave spent, you said 4 months on stage at least working on this book.
Oh, yep.
There are a ton of amazing resources, videos, books, questions, devotionals, everything that is in this book. I highly encourage you to use this if you have a physical copy. Now, if you're not anywhere near our church, you can go online to my3c.org, and we have a book on there that you can click. It's a PDF format, and you'll be able to see everything that we're looking at whenever we are using this book. And as always, if you have any questions, you can ask on our website. There's a little tab that says I got a question. You can click on that and you'll be able to do that. Now, before we go, I'm going to share a little fun fact from the Bible that I got to share with Dave a couple weeks ago, and I taught him, and all of you guys will get to learn. So in the book of Ruth, Naomi, she is married to Elimelech. They have 2 kids, Mahlon and Chilion. Back then, they usually named these kids based on either the first thing that they saw or something that was happening in their culture. So when Mahlon was born, they looked at him and they said he was sick. So Mahlon means sick. And then when Chilion was born, they looked at him and said, oh, he looks tired. So Chilion means tired. So when they had their kids, they were already sick and tired of them.
Oh.
Fun fact of the day. Mahlon and Chilion in the book of Ruth means sick and tired. So there's my little
Dave,
joke.
that's a shocked face from
Profound.
Dave.
Come on now, that's cool. That's cool. They were already tired of their kids.
I think that's a youth pastor joke.
It
You
is
think
a youth
that's
pastor. Most definitely. I haven't even shared that with my youth students yet. That one's in the bank.
I can see their eyes rolling already.
Well, they're going to look at me and they're going to be like, this guy, he's ridiculous. He's absolutely ridiculous. Well, all of you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. Everybody online, we are praying for you. We hope you have an amazing week. Don't forget to use this book. There's all the devotionals that start tomorrow. So you guys are incredible, and we can't wait to see you next Sunday.
Indeed.
Bye, everyone.